Hello and welcome back to another video on the JJ Think Tank. This won't be too long. This video won't be too long. It will be a book review, Stalingrad by Anthony Beevor. A great book that narrates the horror show that happened in Stalingrad, that took place in Stalingrad, and reading the description of the events during this time reminded me of the events that took place in Warsaw, yes, the Warsaw Uprising, when Poland and Polish people rebelled against the Germans. Unfortunately, they were betrayed. Poland was betrayed by the Western powers, as usual, and Russia as well, because Stalin delayed his help. Stalin delayed sending any tanks or any personnel to aid the Poles. We could argue that it was also the fault of the Poles, yes. Perhaps they shouldn't have initiated this uprising without being 100% sure that that help was coming, yes. But this is a topic for another video. I don't want to talk about this today. I want to talk about Stalingrad. I want to focus on the Russians. I want to focus on the Ruskies. On the Ruskies and their bravery and their sacrifice in defeating the destructive Germans, the destructive Germanic spirit, the destructive Anglo-Germanic spirit that always arises because of their arrogance and pride. This is the problem with these Germans and these Anglos. They always want to dominate and destroy. This is the essence of their soul. The Germanic soul and the Anglo soul is destructive in nature. And they need to be put in their place. They need to be put in their place, so that this destructive nature never appears again. Oh yes. The West always paints the Ruskies as the destructive people, as the Neanderthals, yes? Apparently the Ruskies are the Neanderthals. Apparently the Ruskies are the barbarians. Apparently the non-Westerners are the barbarians. But the opposite is the case. The Germanics are the barbarians. The Anglos are the barbarians. Oh yes. Oh yes. This is the truth. The secret essence of the West is being exposed. The occultism of the West. The Satanism of it. The destructive Satanism. The destructive satanic nature of the West is being exposed. Right now in front of our eyes. The Muslims are also playing their part in exposing this corrupt satanic nature of Western civilization. How many Slavs lost their lives in defeating these Nazis? These Hitlerites, these Banderites, these Hitler lovers, these Nazi lovers. It's overlooked, you know. The Slavs, we've been on the receiving end of so much injustice, really. And shocking. And we need to remember about this. History is important. We need to constantly talk about this. Remind people of what happened, because these Anglos, these Germans, they just distort history. Yes. We need to fight back in the information war, because this is a war. This is an information war, and we will win the information war. We will win. We will win. So this was a brilliant book by Beevor. I've heard from the Ruskies that there was some propaganda, yes, in this book. That apparently he distorted the facts. That he spread lies about what the Ruskies did. Who knows? I don't know. This is all speculation. I believe the book is firmly grounded on evidence. All of what Beevor wrote in this book is backed up by sources, yes, verified sources, historical sources, etc. So overall, I think it probably paints an accurate picture of what happened there, yes. Ultimately, whenever there is a war, the beast comes out from a human, yes. Whenever there is war, all humans show their monster side, yes. It's not the case that it's only Russians who show their monstrous side during war. Everyone does. This is a human trait, yes. This is not a national trait. This is a human trait. We can find many examples of Anglos, of Germans being barbaric and inhuman, yes. So this is not really an argument, yes. And this is I'm saying this because this is what the Ruskies, yes, were saying about the book, that it was painting a distorted picture of the Russians. But anyway, let's talk more about the book itself now. Enough politicking, yes, enough politicking, and it's clear that this was probably the most important battle during the Second World War. It was a turning point because it was the beginning of the end for the Nazis, for these Germans, for these Germanic beasts, these Germanic inhuman sub-monsters. It was the beginning of the end, and it seemed that victory for Hitler was around the corner. But no. These Germanic beasts were defeated successfully, and the Ruskies managed to push back the Germans, and it was the beginning of the end. But this war that took place in Stalingrad, it was destructive. It took ages. It was similar to the Warsaw Uprising, but it just took longer, right? Because the Warsaw Uprising didn't take as long because no one came to help the Poles. The Poles were left on their own against the Germanic brutes. But in the case of Stalingrad, the Russians were perhaps well prepared, and they had more soldiers. Yes, so they were able to withstand, yes, the Germanic assaults. So yes. Moving on. Initially, it seemed that the Germans were going to win because they marched into Stalingrad and occupied most areas of the city. This is what happened initially, but not long after, due to strategical errors and Hitler's underestimation of the strength and the potential of the Soviet response and counter-offensive, meant that the Soviets were able ultimately to turn a tide with Operation Uranus. Operation Uranus. I think Uranus is a planet, right? One of the planets in our solar system. Uranus. And a key fact I remember, which I included here in my article, is this one, which is Paulus. Yes, Paulus was one of the sub-generals of Hitler, and he was too servile. Hitler was far away. He didn't know what was going on. Paulus was closer to the events that were taking place in Stalingrad, yes. And he refused to take matters into his own hands, which led to the downfall of the Sixth Army. So Hitler became too tyrannical, too blind, too prideful, and it led to his demise, as is always the case in human history. Casualties on both sides were significant, and Anthony Beevor, he goes into great detail describing the conditions and nature of this infamous battle, comparing it to the trench-like conditions of the First World War. But here, like in the Warsaw Uprising, there was a lot of guerrilla warfare. and because the two armies were hemmed in, and there was a deadlock, a lot of guerrilla warfare took place. There was disease, lack of food and water, harsh weather. I mean, this is why it's so important to read history, to read these traumatic stories. Yes, they're not stories. They're descriptions of real events. Yes, because it makes you very grateful. You develop a sense of gratitude for what you have, because life could be much worse. We are so lucky to have this life that we have at the moment. We have access to fresh water. We have food on the table every day. We have a roof over our heads. In my case, I've got a lovely beagle that I'm able to go out for a walk with every day. I can go to the gymnasium to boost my strength. I can go to the sauna to boost my blood flow. We are very lucky, yes, and this is why we need to always avoid war. It's just these fools that are pushing for war. They're just there's something. Their brains are just messed up. There's something wrong with them. They are possessed by demons. And this is why all these Westerners, they're possessed by demons because they're pushing for this war all the time, yes? And this anti-Russian rhetoric, painting the Russians as the monster, when in fact it's the West. The West and the Western civilization is the satanic entity that needs to be put into its place, put into its rightful place. Okay? Your time is up. The multipolar world is arising. And the multipolar world will bring more justice, peace, and equality to all the nations of the earth. So, what else does Beevor talk about? He talks about the various war crimes, yes, committed by both sides during the war, and he talks about the diplomatic exchanges, and how they could have halted the continuation of the battle. I can't remember the details now. It's a shame. I should have maybe expanded on this in my article. I mean, this was one of the first articles I wrote on Medium, so back then I wasn't really a good writer. So I kind of rushed my writing process. So I should have included more information here. But this is, yes, diplomacy is key. Diplomacy can help us avoid so much unnecessary human suffering. So we can avoid so much destruction and death, but unfortunately, all these politicians they are led by pride, they are led by a satanic spirit, which means that they play with other people's lives. This is why I know I'm not a politician, because when you become a politician, you need to you need to sell your soul. Partially, I think, because usually, it's not always the case, but usually you end up playing with other people's lives. Near the end of the Battle of Stalingrad, it's quite ironic. The soldiers were simply focusing on surviving. Yes, they stopped fighting. They just focused on surviving, on getting food, etc. So. After the battle, Stalingrad resembled a city like Warsaw. It was completely destroyed, yes, leveled to the ground. And this is why I'd like to repeat this point, and I'm sorry I'm maybe propagandizing here, politicking, but it's important. I mean, Poland and the Soviet Union, we suffered the most from this war. The Slavs, Belarus, Poland, the Soviet Union, we suffered the most at the hands of these Nazis, these Germanic brutes. Alongside the Anglos, yes, who were secretly scheming in the background. So we must never forget their heroism and sacrifice. Nazi scum. Anyway, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found it interesting. Don't want to talk more about this, really. It was a great book written by Anthony Beevor about Stalingrad. I'm sure there are many other historical books about Stalingrad, but this is one of the most popular ones, and the one that I came across. That's crazy. I mean, here, Richard Bernstein nicely sums up the scale of what happened, yes, in Stalingrad. And this is what he said: the colossal scale of Stalingrad, the megalomania, the utter absurdity, the sheer magnitude of the carnage are marvellously captured in Beevor's history. Definitely, Stalingrad was a case of megalomania. This time on the part of Hitler, yes. Anyway, that's the end of the video. Thank you for listening. If you're still here, thank you for tuning in to the JJ Think Tank and listening to what I have to say. You could have spent your time elsewhere, but you decided to spend your time here on the JJ Think Tank. If you like the video, consider liking and subscribing. It will help me grow the channel. If you are a new viewer, that is. If you are an existing viewer, please comment if you agree. If you agree with my political message, because there was a political message here, of course. What are your comments about Stalingrad, etc.? I'd like to know what you think. But yes, once again, thank you for listening, and I wish you all the best. Take care.